শুরু করেছিলাম সেটা আমরা শেষ করার চেষ্টা করি। আজকে আশা করি শেষ করতে পারবো। আমরা গিয়েছিলাম অনেক কয়টা পাতায়। ইয়েটা আবার আরেকবার দেখে নিই। টেবিল অফ কন্টেন্টস এর মতো যেটা শুরুতে আছে সেটা আরেকবার দেখে নিই। The sun's trajectory, the moon's orbit, calculating the lunar year, the force of gravity and orbital movements, the roundness of the earth's direction of rotation, the geoid shape of the earth. এইটুকু পর্যন্ত আমরা কভার করেছিলাম। এরপরে let's continue after that. The force of gravity, orbital movements, the roundness of the earth, এটা আমরা কভার করেছি। The geoid shape. So this is where we start with the diameter of the earth and space. So Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, company of jinn and men, if you are able to pierce through the confines of the heavens and earth, pierce through them, you will not pierce through except with a clear authority. এখানে আমরা মনে করতে পারি যে রাসূলুল্লাহ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি সাল্লামকে যখন জিবরাইল আলাইহিস সালাম accompany করেন in the miraj, so what hadith tells us is that when they reach the end of the first sky, then Jibril alayhi salam stopped at the gate that is for entering the second sky, and he asks for permission for the gate to be opened by the angel guarding the gate. In other words, even Jibril alayhi salam, accompanied by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, could not cross that limit. And then after they get permission, the gate is opened, and then with the most valuable accompaniment that anybody can have, and that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Jibril alayhi salam enters the second, or pierces through, or goes through the first sky. And the same thing happened when he reaches the confines of the second sky and the third sky. So there were angels guarding. So Allah Ta'ala is saying, the company of jinn and men, if you are able to pierce through the confines of the heavens and the earth, pierce through them, you will not pierce through except with a clear authority. The Arabic word translated as confines in the above verse is aqtar. This is the plural form of the word qutr, meaning diameter, and refers to the skies and the earth having many diameters, not just one. The form of the word used here, the plural, refers to another piece of miraculous information. A three-dimensional body can only be said to have a single diameter if it is perfectly spherical. The term diameters can only refer to an irregular but basically spherical shape. This word chosen in the Quran, diameters, is important from the point of view of indicating the geoid shape of the earth. The second noteworthy subject in the verse is that the earth and the heavens are mentioned separately in reference to diameters. According to Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity, the universe is expanding, but this does not mean that the galaxies and other heavenly bodies are being dispersed in space. This means that space is expanding and that the distance between the galaxies is increasing. The definition of the confines of the heavens in Surat Ar-Rahman indicates the spherical structure of space. Allah knows best. In the same way that the diameters of space will be different from different points in space, so the diameters of a constantly expanding space will also display differences. From that point of view, the use of the plural form of the word confine is full of wisdom and is one of the indications that the Quran is the revelation of the omniscient creator. The sun, the moon, the stars are subservient to his command. Both creation and command belong to him. Blessed be Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, indicating that He just doesn't have one world or one universe. He has multiple universes. So we have the earth here, the sun on the farther side, and the moon on this side. The layers of the atmosphere. One fact about the universe revealed in the verses of the Quran is that the sky is made up of 7 layers. It is He who created everything on the earth for you and then directed His attention up to heaven and arranged it into 7 regular heavens. Actually, the word heaven does not mean paradise here. It means the skies. The term for paradise is Jannah. That is not the word that is used here. The word used in Arabic is asma, sama, sama. Sama means sky. He has knowledge of all things. Then he turned to, again, sama, sky, when it was smoke. In 2 days, he determined them as 7 skies and revealed in every sky its own mandate. Every sky has its own mandate. The word heavens or sky, which appears in many verses in the Quran, is used to refer to the sky above the earth as well as the entire universe. Given this meaning of the word, it is seen that the earth's sky or the atmosphere is made up of 7 layers. Today, it is known that the world's atmosphere consists of different layers that lie on top of each other. So in other words, the meaning that we can take from the use of the word sky and the 7 skies in the context of the atmosphere of the earth would be that the Almighty is referring to the layers of the atmosphere rather than the first sky and the second sky and the third sky that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, accompanied by Jibril Alayhi Salam, pierced through to have audience with Allah Ta'ala. Based on chemical contents or air temperature, the atmosphere has 7 layers. According to modern geological definitions, the 7 layers of atmosphere are troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, ionosphere, magnetosphere. And 5 of the 7 spheres are shown here. Ionosphere and magnetosphere are not shown in this diagram. And then the distance of each one, how far each one extends, is shown on this figure. Again, the 5 of them are shown here. And here we can see the 7 spheres, the ionosphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and then you can see the ionosphere and the magnetosphere. A dense layer of molecules. Now I'm talking about ionosphere. After the 5 layers that are shown in the previous 2 diagrams, I'm talking about ionosphere. It's a dense layer of molecules and electrically charged particles called the ionosphere, hangs in the Earth's upper atmosphere, starting at about 60 kilometers above the planet's surface and stretching out beyond 1,000 kilometers. Solar radiation coming from above protects particles suspended in the atmospheric, or buffets particles suspended in the atmospheric layer. Radio signals from below bounces off the ionosphere back to instruments on the ground. Where the ionosphere overlaps with magnetic fields, the sky erupts in brilliant light displays that are incredible to see. On next slide, an aurora over the South Pole, captured by NASA's IMAGE spacecraft in 2004. And it is very pronounced in one of the poles. The scorching hot surface of the sun expels streams of highly charged particles known as solar wind, which flies through space at about 40 kilometers per second. That's an incredible speed. Upon reaching the Earth's magnetic field and the ionosphere below, solar winds set off a colorful chemical reaction in the night sky called an aurora. When solar winds whip across Earth, the planet stays shielded behind its magnetic field. The magnetic field shields the Earth, also known as magnetosphere, which is the last layer. Generated by churning molten iron in the Earth's core, the magnetosphere sends solar radiation racing toward either pole. There, the charged particles collide with chemicals, swirling the ionosphere, generating the spellbinding auroras. Scientists have found that the sun's own magnetic field squishes the Earth's weaker magnetic field, shifting auroras toward the night side of the planet. That means the polar side. Near the Arctic and Antarctic circles, auroras streak across the sky every night. The colorful curtains of light known as the aurora borealis and aurora australis hang about 1,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The auroras glow green, yellow, sometimes reddish, sometimes purple, but not often, and sometimes blue. Purple and blue are rare. Green, yellow to reddish are more common. The atmosphere only lets rays required for life to reach the Earth. For example, the ultraviolet rays make it to the world only partially. This is the most appropriate range to allow plants to make photosynthesis and eventually for all living things to survive. The Quran says in Surah Fussilat, He revealed in every heaven its own mandate, meaning what they have to do, their function. In other words, Allah is stating that He assigned each layer its own duty. Each one of these layers has vital duties for the benefit of mankind and all other living things on the earth. Each layer has a particular function ranging from forming rain to preventing harmful rays from reflecting radio waves to averting the harmful effects of meteors. The verses below inform us about the appearance of the 7 layers, one above another, of the atmosphere. Do you not see how He created the 7 heavens in layers, or the 7 skies in layers? He who created the 7 heavens or skies in layers, you can see no fault of the creation of the most gracious. Then look again. Can you see any rifts or faults? The reason I put some of the words in red is to point out that Allah Ta'ala is saying in both the verses, He's using the word, do you not see, or you can see. So if He was mentioning about the first sky and the second sky and the third sky, which are of astronomical magnitude, the second sky compared to the first sky is like the earth. The second sky is like the earth, and the first sky is like the egg. And the first and the second skies are like an egg, and the third sky is like the earth. So that comparison, or the reference to the 7 skies in relation to the 7 universes that Allah Ta'ala has created, is something that we cannot see, because even Jibreel alayhi salam has to take permission, accompanied by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to enter the confine of the of the second sky and the third sky. So when Allah Ta'ala is mentioning that, do you not see, or you can see, it is logical to think that Allah Ta'ala is referring to the layers of the atmosphere that if people could not see in the past, based on today's technology, they're able to see, and they are able to detect the 7 layers in the atmosphere above the earth, the 7 layers of the atmosphere above the earth. So that's the reason why I highlighted them in red, that Allah Ta'ala is using the word, do you not see, or you can see. That means it is within the realms of possibility of human beings to see the layers of the atmosphere that he is most likely referring to. But as you know, we say Allah knows best. And then he also mentions that you cannot find any fault in the creation of the Almighty. Allah is perfect and his creation is perfect. And he not only created, he also mentions that he lays down laws according to which his universe functions. He mentions that in the Quran, and Muslim scientists have read that time and again over the centuries, and they have not pondered, or they have not ventured to find out some of the laws of physics that Allah Ta'ala has put in place, that Newton, somehow Allah Ta'ala revealed to him some of the laws, and to the other scientists up until Einstein and Stephen Hawking, to unearth the laws of physics that Allah Ta'ala has put in place. The Arabic word tibakan in these verses that Allah Ta'ala uses in both these verses, tibakan, that means literally translated into English, it is layers, or layer actually, means layer. The appropriate word, cover or covering for something, and thus stresses how the top layer is well suited to the lower layer. The word is also used in the plural here. That means he's not using the word layer, he's using the word tibakan, which means layers in plural. The sky described in the verse as being in layers is without doubt the most perfect expression of the layer of the atmosphere. It is a great miracle that these facts, which could not possibly be discovered without the technology of the 20th century, were explicitly stated by the Quran 1400 years ago. We say miracle, but you know, from the perspective of Allah Ta'ala, it is only natural to use the terms that he has used, even though human beings 1400 years ago could not have understood fully the words that he used in all places. And even Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said he has no knowledge of some of the words. But it is a miracle for us, because from our perspective, it's a miracle. It is not a miracle from the perspective of Allah Ta'ala. And then it's an extension. This section is an extension of the previous section, the protective roof. It's just to emphasize what we discussed in terms of the magnetosphere. Actually, I did not have enough time. I made some changes after last week. I made the changes mostly in the last couple of days. And I found that there is some repetition, which if time permitted, I would have taken out the repetition, but time did not permit that. So let's live with the repetition, knowing that repetition is sometimes good for us. In the Quran, Allah calls our attention to a very important attribute of the sky. We made the sky a preserved and protected roof, yet still they turn away from our signs. preserved and protected roof, yet still they turn away from our signs. Ayah. The attribute of the sky has been proved by scientific research of the 20th century. The atmosphere is surrounding the earth, serves crucial functions for the continuity of life. While destroying many meteors, big and small, as they approach the earth, it prevents them, that means the atmosphere, from falling to earth, the meteors falling to earth and harming living things. In addition, the atmosphere filters the light rays coming from space that are harmful to living things. The most striking feature of the atmosphere is that it lets only harmless and useful rays, visible light, near ultraviolet light, and radio waves to pass through. All of this radiation is vital for life. Near ultraviolet rays, which are only partially let in by the atmosphere, are very important for the photosynthesis of plants that I mentioned earlier, and for the survival of all living beings. The majority of the intense ultraviolet rays emitted from the sun are filtered out by the ozone layer of the atmosphere. Only a limited and essential part of the ultraviolet spectrum reaches the earth. The protective function of the atmosphere does not end here. The atmosphere also protects the earth from the freezing cold of the space, which is approximately minus 270 degrees centigrade. It is not only the atmosphere that protects the earth from harmful effects. In addition to the atmosphere, the Van Allen belt, the layer caused by the magnetic field of the earth, also serves as a shield against the harmful radiation that threatens our planet. And the Van Allen belt is actually the magnetosphere that we talked about earlier. This radiation, which is constantly emitted by the sun and other stars, is deadly to living things. So the light blue shows the Van Allen belt that acts as a protective shield for the earth. If the Van Allen belt did not exist, the massive outbursts of energy called solar flares that travels at 40 kilometers per second that frequently occur in the sun would destroy all life on Earth. The magnetosphere layer formed by the magnetic field of the Earth serves as a shield protecting the Earth from celestial bodies, harmful cosmic rays, and particles. In the above picture, this magnetosphere layer, which is also named as Van Allen belt, is seen, the light blue shield above the Earth. These belts at thousands of kilometers above the Earth protect the living things on the Earth from the fatal energy that would otherwise reach it from space. All these scientific findings prove that the world is protected in a very particular way. And we'll see very soon how it is very particular to the Earth. The important thing is that this protection was made known in the Quran in the verse, "We made the sky a preserved and protected roof," 14 centuries ago. On the importance of the Van Allen belt, Dr. Hugh Ross says, in fact, the Earth has the highest density of any of the planets in our solar system. The large nickel iron core is responsible for our large magnetic field, and that's in the inner core. This magnetic field produces the Van Allen belt by the will of Allah. The Van Allen belt radiation shield, which protects the Earth from radiation bombardment. If this shield were not present, life would not be possible on Earth. So these are some repetitions from the previous sections. The only other rocky planet to have any magnetic field is Mercury, but its field strength is 100 times less than the Earth's. Even Venus, our sister planet, has no magnetic field. The Van Allen radiation shield is a design unique to the Earth. In that sense, the Earth is particularly shielded. The other planets do not have living beings like the Earth has. The energy transmitted by one solar burst detected in recent years was calculated to be equivalent to 100 billion atomic bombs. The energy transmitted by one solar burst equal to 100 billion atomic bombs, each similar to the one dropped on Hiroshima or Nagasaki at the end of World War II. 100 billion atomic bombs. So how much of strength, power packed in one solar burst? 58 hours after the burst, it was observed that the magnetic needles of compasses displayed unusual movement and 250 kilometers above the Earth's atmosphere. The temperature suddenly increased to 2,500 degrees centigrade. Most people looking at the sky do not think about the protective aspect of the atmosphere, how it protects us by the will of the Almighty. They almost never think what kind of a place the world would be like if this structure did not exist. And we know it today. And even after knowing today, we will forget about it. We will take life for granted, not seeing the protection from the Almighty. And herein also lies the real meaning of the term, only Allah is the protector. If the atmosphere did not exist, millions of meteoroids would fall to the earth, that means small meteors, and the earth would become an inhabitable place. Yet the protective aspect of the atmosphere allows living things to survive in safety that we do not realize. This is certainly Allah's protection of people and a miracle proclaiming in the Quran, a perfect system is at work above the earth. It surrounds our world and protects it against external threats. Centuries ago, Allah informed us in the Quran of the world's atmosphere functioning as a protective shield. Smaller than an atom. We made reference to this a couple of sessions ago. And I made a little bit of mistake. I said that the word atom wasn't known. Later, I forgot actually. It was known to the Greeks. The Greeks used the word atom. Those who disbelieve say, the hour will never come unto us. Allah is saying, those who disbelieve, they say, the hour, meaning the hour of judgment or the day of judgment will never come unto us. That means we will never be resurrected. And then Allah Ta'ala says, nay, but my Lord, nay, by my Lord, nay, by my Lord, but it is coming unto you surely. He is the knower of the unseen, not an atom's weight. At that time, the word atom wasn't, I mean, the word was there to the Greeks. It was atomos, atomos. And the word was known to the Arabs, but the Arabs used the word zarra. And the word zarra is used in the Quran, not an atom's weight or less than that, less than an atom, or greater than that, escapes him in the heavens or in the earth, but it is in a clear record, it is in a clear book of our deeds. So he is using the word less than that, but it possibly did not strike any mind that there could be something smaller than zarra. In ancient times, a well-known theory called the theory of atomicism was widely accepted. This theory was originally proposed by a Greek scholar named Democritus, who lived about 23 centuries ago. Democritus and the people who came after him assumed that the smallest unit of matter was atoms. So when the smallest unit was discovered by science, by scientists, then they named it after this term, atomos, or atoms. The Greek term atomos, or indivisible, that's the meaning of the term, that you cannot find anything smaller than an atom. But that was later proved to be not true by scientists. Arabs used to believe that the Arabic word zarra means atoms most commonly. Recently, modern science has discovered that it is possible to even separate an atom. That the atom could be more divided was discovered in the 20th century. 14 centuries ago, this concept seemed unusual, even for an Arab. To him, it was a border that could not be crossed. You couldn't break the atom or create anything or find anything smaller than an atom. When scientists searched the nucleus of atoms, they discovered smaller particles such as electrons, protons, and neutrons. They also discovered that protons and neutrons are made up of smaller particles called quarks. Quarks are considered the basic particles that make up the matter. Even the world's largest particle accelerator could not break the quark at the Large Hadron Collider near Geneva. In the Large Hadron Collider, particles accelerating in a tunnel with a 27-kilometer perimeter at speeds close to the speed of light collide with each other, revealing great energy during these collisions. They have plans to build larger accelerators with a 100-kilometer radius to see if the energy they will generate will be enough to break the quarks. Who knows that something smaller than quarks can be found or not. The miracle of this verse is that it speaks of what is smaller than an atom, and it occurs at a time when no one knows anything about atoms. But that's exactly what the Quran is talking about. Allah says, less than that, less than an atom. Allah knows best of all. Doomsday, Allah Ta'ala mentions about the day of judgment and the destruction of all his creation. And in Surah Taha, Allah Ta'ala says, they ask thee concerning the mountains. Allah Ta'ala is using the term mountains because that's what we see, huge formations of rock, which we consider to be unbreakable. So Allah Ta'ala uses the term mountains. They ask thee concerning the mountains. Say, my Lord will uproot them and scatter them as dust. In some place, it is mentioned that the mountains will move like cotton in the air. Here the term dust is used. On that day, the earth and mountains will be shaken, and the mountains will become a pile of sand. It will not stay as mountains. It will be leveled. And then, I could not resist, talking about doomsday, I could not resist incorporating 14 surahs from At-Takwir, beautiful surahs that they are in Arabic, but I will put before you the English. The English is also beautiful. And then the next surah, I think 15 verses of the next surah. When the sun is folded up, and when the stars fall, and when the mountains shall be set in motion, and when the pregnant camels are neglected, and when the wild beasts are gathered together, and when the seas become as blazing fire or overflow, and when the souls are joined with their bodies, and when the girl child buried alive is asked, for what sin she was buried or killed or slain, and when the pages of the deeds of every person are spread before them, and when the heaven is stripped off and taken away from its place, and when hell is set ablaze, and when the paradise is brought near, every soul shall then know what it has brought of good and evil. That's from Surah At-Takwir, and then from Surah Al-Infitar, 15 verses, when the sky is cleft asunder. I've seen that at least in 6 places of the Quran, this term asunder is used in relation to the sky and what will happen to it before doomsday. And when the stars have fallen and scattered, and when the seas burst forth, and when the graves are turned upside down, emptied of their contents, every soul shall know what it has sent forward and what it has held back. O man, it's a wonderful verse. O man, what has seduced you away from your Lord, the gracious? Ya ayyuhal insan. Allah Ta'ala is talking to the whole mankind. In some places in the Quran, Allah talks to whole mankind. In some places in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala addresses the believers. The Quran is for the whole of mankind. O man, what has seduced you away from your Lord, the gracious, who created you and fashioned you and proportioned you in perfection? In whatever form he willed, he constituted you, he created you. Nay, but you disbelieve in the day of recompense. And surely there are watchers over you, Kiramun Katibin, writing down your deeds. They know all that you do. Surely the righteous shall be in bliss, and surely the wicked shall be in blazing fire, which they shall enter and taste its burning flame on the day of recompense. Surah Al-Infitar. These and many other verses show that the ultimate fate of the universe looks like the big rip. This actually is a theory about the future, so it's not a scientific fact. We have been talking about scientific facts, but in this last section, I'm talking about a theory about the future. And I'm talking about it simply because it is similar to the verses that we have talked about, or other verses. There are many verses about the coming of the day of judgment and what will happen to the creation of the Almighty. Before that, there are many verses. Actually, we can hold one full session on the different verses that are in the Quran, talking about the destruction of the creation of the Almighty. And these verses, they talk about destruction, and there is a group of astronomers who talk about the ultimate destruction of the universe. And one such theory goes by the name of the Big Rip. In some verses, it is repeated that everything will be torn apart on the day of resurrection and will be broken into very small pieces. We live in a sprawling universe that will not exist forever. As for the ultimate fate of the universe, a cosmological hypothesis called Big Rip is proposed, where the universe gradually fragments through accelerated expansion of the universe from galaxies and stars to atoms and subatomic particles. So what is shown here is we don't have to believe in the Big Bang. And if the Big Bang was actually true, I mentioned that earlier, then there would be an expansion, and then there would be contraction. But that has not happened. The universe has continued to expand, and at an accelerated pace, at an accelerated rate. And that was discovered just a few decades ago, that the universe is not contracting, but expanding. And this Big Rip hypothesis states that atoms will be ripped apart, which means not only the Earth, but every creation, including the solar system, breaks apart, and the galaxies are destroyed. And in terms of time scale, we are somewhere here, which means the universe will continue to expand. For how long? Nobody knows. Even Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not have any knowledge of when Judgment Day will come. Whenever he was asked, he would normally refer it to the Almighty. Allah knows best. But he also obviously gave some signs of the last days, and we can go through some of the signs later on. Obviously, we do not have to rely on astronomy to believe in the coming of the day of judgment that is in the Quran, and that was mentioned by or in different narrations of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that is a fact which is good enough for Muslims. But I just want to show to you that even astronomers, or at least some of them, believe that the universe would not continue to expand forever. Measurements have shown that the expansion of the universe is accelerating. To explain this momentum, most of the energy in the universe requires a component with a large negative pressure called dark energy. Now, this is how they try to justify the expansion of the universe, that there must be something called dark energy and dark matter, which is causing this expansion. Most of the universe consists of dark energy, a mysterious power that allows the universe to expand rapidly. The next largest component is dark matter, which interacts only with the rest of the universe through gravity. In short, dark matter attracts and dark energy pushes back. When dark matter pulls the matter, the dark energy pushes it outwards. Moreover, while dark matter manifests itself only on the largest cosmic scale, dark matter applies its effect to individual galaxies and the universe in general. Nothing more is known about dark energy than is known. That means we don't know much about dark energy. We know dark energy affects the expansion of the universe. Other than that, it's a mystery, but it is an important mystery. Roughly 68% of the universe turns out to be dark energy. Dark matter is about 27%. The rest, everything in the world, everything observed with all our instruments, the whole normal matter adds to less than 5% of the universe. The galaxies and the stars within them, and the planets, and the planets and the meteors and the asteroids and the comets, and everything is, or the clouds, adds to less than 5% of the universe. Maybe it shouldn't be called normal matter because it's a very small part of the universe. If the universe had a huge amount of dark energy, then the expansion of the universe could theoretically continue forever. If the momentum caused by dark energy increases unlimitedly, dark energy eventually becomes so powerful that gravity completely suppresses the effects of electromagnetic and weak nuclear forces. As a result, clusters of galaxies, stars, planets, atoms, nuclei, and matter itself will be shattered by the growing expansion of what is called Big Rip. In this scenario, galaxies will first be separated, then the stars and the solar system would be gravitationally unrelated. In the final minutes, the planets will be torn apart and the atoms and nuclei will be shattered. Now, we shouldn't think of our 9 or 8 planets. There are planets surrounding nearly every star that is there in the universe, and there are trillions and trillions of stars, and therefore there should be trillions and trillions of planets. So they'll be torn apart and the atoms and nuclei will be shattered. This separation, the disintegration of stars, planets, and atoms completely deprives the universe of structure. The ultimate fate of the universe appears to be a doomsday by Big Rip. That's a representation of dark energy and dark matter. We don't know much about it. Post-apocalyptic, the day when we will fold the heaven like the folding of a written sheet for the records. As we began the first creation, we will repeat it. Allah Ta'ala will destroy everything And after a period of time, Allah knows best for how long, He alone will exist. He existed forever. He alone will exist. Everything, all His creation, including the angels, there'll be no living being that will be alive, including the angels, will not be alive. Allah alone will be alive on that day. And on that day, He will announce, where are the kings of the world? Where are the tyrants? Where are those who used to walk on the earth proudly? Where are those who ate from my provisions? Where are the tyrants? The tyrants have done a lot of tyranny. You know, when people commit sins secretly, it affects them only. When we don't pray, it affects us. When we don't fast, it affects us. But when we do injustice to others, it affects human beings. And that is something that Allah Ta'ala will not forgive. When kings do injustice, then when people with authority commit injustice, that is what rattles Allah Ta'ala. That is what shakes the throne of Allah Ta'ala. Injustice committed to fellow human beings. And that was done mostly by people with authority, and most of all by kings. So Allah Ta'ala will ask, after destroying everything, there's nobody to answer. Allah Ta'ala will ask, where are the kings of the world? Where are those who used to walk proudly on the earth? Where are those who used to eat from my provision? There'll be nobody to answer. And again, He will ask, who's the king today? Who's the king today? The kings of the earth used to, very limited, with very limited authority. They had no power over their own life. They used to exert their authority without any hindrance, without any conscience for the most part. Now, there's a saying that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Kings who had absolute power, they were corrupt absolutely. So Allah Ta'ala will ask, who's the king of the world today? There's nobody to answer, and He Himself will answer, I am the king. I am the king. He will shake His creation and He will answer. He will ask, who is the king? To whom belongs sovereignty? Nobody to answer. He will respond. Ainul Jabbarul Ainul Khalikul Jabbarul Mutakabbir. I am the Almighty. I am the powerful. Azizul Jabbarul Mutakabbir. Quddusus Salamul Mu'minul Muhaiminul. I am the holy. I am the protector. I am the giver of safety. I am the giver of peace. Allah Ta'ala will proclaim His own sovereignty on that day. We do not accept Allah's sovereignty today. Most of the world's 780 crore people. There will be a day when there'll be everybody will be leveled. The whole creation will be leveled. Even the angels will, their life will be taken away. It will be only Allah Ta'ala who will live on that day. And He will question, and there'll be nobody to answer, and He will answer. And the questions are known to us, and the answers are known to us. And it is He who begins creation, then He repeats it. That is even easier for Him. And that means that once He has created, it is easier for Him to recreate what He created. To Him belongs the highest attribute in the heavens and earth. And He is the exalted in might, the wise. The verses in the Quran reflect that despite the end of the universe, Allah will not allow precious things to simply disappear. Only Allah knows the exact form of events in the future. Quran and Hadith present glimpses of events to occur. The distant future is beyond the reach of science. Science is limited, among other things, by the limitation of human being. and the tools of inquiry at our disposal. I want to finish today with this. There's very little bit left, which at some point in the future we can incorporate. Very little that is left, just a few slides. It's close to an hour, so we can pray and then we can spend some time in the precious company of each other. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Jazallahu anna Muhammadan sallallahu alaihi wasallam ma huwa ahluhu. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yunin waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Rabbi ij'alni muqimas salati wa min dhurriyyati rabbana taqabbal du'a. Rabbana innana sami'na munadi ayyuna lil imani ananamu bi rabbikum fa'amanna. Rabbana faghfir lana dhunubana wa kaffir anna wa sayyi'atina wa tawaffana ma'al abrar. Rabbana wa atina ma wattana ala rusulika wa la tukhlina yawmal qiyamati innaka la tukhliful mi'ad. Rabbana wa la tahmil alayna isran kama hamaltahu ala alladhina min qablina. Rabbana wa la tuhammilna ma la taqata lana bihi wa'fu anna waghfir lana warhamna anta maulana fansurna ala alqawmil kafirin. Anta maulana fansurna ala alqawmil kafirin. Rabbi anta waliyana fid dunya wal akhirah ya fatir as-samawati wal ard. Ya Fatir as-samawati wal ard, Ya Fatir as-samawati wal ard, Anta wali fid dunya wal akhirah, 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 Anta wali fid dunya wal akhirah. Allahumma innaka afuwwun kareemun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم أسألك إيمانا كاملا يقينا صادقا علما نافعا رزقا واسعا عملا صالحا حياة طيبة دعاء مستجاب لسانا ذاكرا قلبا خاشعا رزقا حلالا طيبا شفاء من كل داء. ও আল্লাহ তুমি আমাদেরকে যা কিছু বলার এবং শোনার তৌফিক দিয়েছো আল্লাহ, যা কিছু আমল করার তৌফিক দিয়েছো তার ভুল ভ্রান্তি সংশোধন করে তোমার শাহী দরবারে কবুল করো আল্লাহ এবং রাসূল করিম সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামের কাছে পৌঁছে দিও আল্লাহ। এবং আমাদের নিকটজন, আপনজন, আত্মীয় স্বজন, প্রিয়জন যারা কবরে শায়িত আল্লাহ, তাদের কাছে পৌঁছে দিও আল্লাহ। তাদের কবরে আজাব মাফ করো, যদি মাফ করে না থাকো তাদের কবরকে প্রশস্ত করো আল্লাহ, তাদের কবরকে নূর দিয়ে পরিপূর্ণ করো আল্লাহ, তাদের কবরকে জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌসের বাগান বানিয়ে দিও আল্লাহ। ও আল্লাহ ও আল্লাহ ও আল্লাহ, আমাদের পিতামাতা, আমাদের দাদা দাদি, নানা নানি, চাচা চাচি, ফুপা ফুপু, খালা খালু, মামা মামি, আত্মীয় স্বজন, বন্ধু বান্ধব, শিক্ষক শিক্ষার্থী, পাড়া প্রতিবেশী বন্ধু, ও আল্লাহ আমাদের কলেজের সাথে জড়িত যারা, তাদের সবাইকে আল্লাহ, ও আল্লাহ ও আল্লাহ তুমি তাদেরকে কিয়ামতের দিন তোমার আরশের নিচে ছায়া দিও আল্লাহ। তাদের আমলনামা ডান হাতে দিও, তাদেরকে নিশ্চিন্ত মনে কস্তুরী টিলার উপরে বিচরণ করার তৌফিক দিও আল্লাহ। যখন সবাই হিসাব দিতে হিমশিম খেয়ে যাবে আল্লাহ, তাদেরকে তুমি নিশ্চিন্ত মনে রেখো আল্লাহ। তুমি তাদেরকে বিদ্যুতের গতিতে পুলসিরাত পার হওয়ার তৌফিক দিও এবং বিনা হিসাবে জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌসে দাখিল করো আল্লাহ। ও আল্লাহ ও আল্লাহ ও আল্লাহ, তুমি আমাদেরকে আল্লাহ হেফাজত করো। আমরাও একদিন থাকবো না আল্লাহ পৃথিবীতে, আমাদের সাথে উত্তম সদ্ব্যবহার করো আল্লাহ, উত্তম ব্যবহার দেখিয়ে যখন আমরাও কবরে যাব এবং হাসরে ময়দানে আমরা দাঁড়াবো আল্লাহ, এবং আমাদের যখন পুলসিরাত পার হওয়ার সময় হবে এবং আমাদের যখন দোজখ বা বেহেশতে পা দেওয়ার সময় হবে, তখন আমাদেরকে জান্নাতুল ফেরদৌসে দাখিল করো আল্লাহ। আল্লাহ তুমি আমাদেরকে হেদায়েত করো, আমাদেরকে হেফাজত করো, আমাদের মাগফিরাত করো আল্লাহ। আল্লাহ আমাদের উপর রহমত বর্ষণ করো। ও আল্লাহ তোমার সন্তুষ্টি দান করো আল্লাহ। যেরকম ঈমান তোমার সন্তুষ্টি অর্জন করতে পারবে আল্লাহ, তোমার হুকুম তামিল করতে সহায়ক হবে, সেরকম ঈমান দান করো আল্লাহ। যেরকম নামাজ তোমার সন্তুষ্টি অর্জন করতে পারবে, সেরকম নামাজ পড়ার তৌফিক দান করো। যেরকম ইলম এবং জিকির তোমার সন্তুষ্টি অর্জন করতে পারবে, সেরকম ইলম এবং জিকির অর্জন করার তৌফিক দান করো। যেরকম ইকরাম তোমার সন্তুষ্টি অর্জন করতে পারবে, সেরকম ইকরাম করার তৌফিক দান করো আল্লাহ। যেরকম ইখলাস বিশুদ্ধ নিয়ত তোমার সন্তুষ্টি অর্জন করতে পারবে, তোমার কবুলিয়ত অর্জন করতে পারবে, সেরকম ইখলাস আমাদেরকে দান করো আল্লাহ। এবং যেরকম দাওয়াতের মেহনত তোমার সন্তুষ্টি অর্জন করতে পারবে, সেরকম দাওয়াতের মেহনত করার তৌফিক দান করো আল্লাহ। ও আল্লাহ, ও আল্লাহ তুমি আমাদেরকে তোমার ভালোবাসা দান করো আল্লাহ, তোমার হাবিবের ভালোবাসা দান করো, আমাদেরকে হুসনে আখলাক সুন্দর চরিত্র আচার আচরণ দান করো আল্লাহ। ও আল্লাহ আমরা অত্যন্ত দুর্বল, তোমার সাহায্য ছাড়া আমরা এক পাও চলতে পারবো না। এক মুহূর্তের জন্য তুমি আমাদেরকে আল্লাহ নফসের হাতে, শয়তানের হাতে, দুনিয়ার চাকচিক্যের হাতে ছেড়ে দিও না আল্লাহ। আমাদের সেই ক্ষমতা নাই আল্লাহ। এগুলার প্রলোভন সামলে চলতে, সামনের দিকে এগিয়ে যেতে, তোমার সরল পথে চলতে আমাদের সেই শক্তি নাই আল্লাহ। এগুলার প্রলোভন সহ্য করার মতো শক্তি আমাদের নাই আল্লাহ। এগুলার প্রলোভনে যাতে আমরা না পড়ি আল্লাহ, সেই পরীক্ষা আমাদের দিও না আল্লাহ। ও আল্লাহ, মানুষ যখন 20 বছর, 30 বছর, 40 বছর, 70 বছর গোসল করে না, তার যে অবস্থা হয়, কয়েক বালতি পানি দিয়েও সে পরিষ্কার হতে পারবে না। মানুষ যখন 60-70 বছর গোনা করে, তোমার হাবিব বলেছেন এক কাতরা অশ্রু, এক বিন্দু অশ্রু 70 বছরের গোনাকেও ধুয়ে ফেলতে পারে। তুমি এরকম দয়ালু আল্লাহ। আল্লাহ আমাদের সমস্ত গোনাকে ধুয়ে ফেলো আল্লাহ। আমরা কাঁদতে পারি না, কিন্তু কান্নার ভান করতে পারি আল্লাহ, সেইটা কবুল করো আল্লাহ। ইয়া কাযিউল হাজাত, ইয়া রাফিউদ দারাজাত, ইয়া হালালাল মুশকিলাত, ইয়া মুজিবুদ দাওয়াত, বিরহমাতিকা নাস্তাগীথ, ইয়া আউয়ালাল আউয়ালিন, ইয়া আখিরাল আখিরিন, ইয়া আকরামাল আকরামিন, ইয়া আরহামার রাহিমিন, ইয়া রাহিমাল মাসাকিন, ইয়া যিল কুওয়াতিল মাতিন। ও আল্লাহ, তুমি আমাদেরকে, আমাদের সন্তান সন্ততিকে, আমাদের আত্মীয় স্বজনকে, আমাদের পাড়া প্রতিবেশীকে, আমাদের দেশবাসীকে, আমাদের বিশ্ববাসীকে তুমি হেদায়েত করো, আমাদের হেফাজত করো আল্লাহ। তোমার মাগফিরাত দান করো, তোমার রহমত দান করো। আমাদের বিভিন্ন বালা মুসিবত, সমস্ত মানুষের বিভিন্ন বালা মুসিবত তুমি দূর করে দাও আল্লাহ। একমাত্র তুমি সেটা দূর করতে পারো আল্লাহ। ও আল্লাহ, ও আল্লাহ, সবার নেক হাজত তুমি পুরা করো। তোমার হাবিব যা কিছু চেয়েছিলেন তোমার কাছে আমরা তাই চাই। তোমার হাবিব যার থেকে পানা চেয়েছিলেন তোমার থেকে তাই, তোমার থেকে সেসব সেসব বস্তু থেকে পানা চাই আল্লাহ। আমাদের যা চাওয়া উচিত ছিল না, আমরা চাইতে পারি নাই আল্লাহ, তুমি তোমার তরফ থেকে দান করো। এবং যার থেকে পানা চাওয়া উচিত ছিল, চাইতে পারি নাই, তুমি তোমার তরফ থেকে পানা দিও আল্লাহ। রব্বানা তাকাব্বাল মিন্নি ইন্নাকা আনতাস সামিউল আলিম ওয়া তুব আলাইনা ইন্নাকা আনতাত তাওয়াবুর রহিম। সুবহানা রাব্বিকা রাব্বিল ইজ্জাতি আম্মা ইয়াসিফুন ওয়া সালামুন আলাল মুরসালিন ওয়ালহামদুলিল্লাহি রাব্বিল আলামিন। লা ইলাহা ইল্লাল্লাহ মুহাম্মাদুর রাসূলুল্লাহ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লাম। আমিন ইয়া রাব্বাল আলামিন। ইনশাআল্লাহ আমরা মিলিত হব আবার, আল্লাহ তাআলা তৌফিক দিলে, আবার এবং আবার এবং আবার এভাবে যাতে আমাদের মৃত্যু হয়, ইলম শিক্ষা করতে করতে ইনশাআল্লাহ শহীদের দরজা।